Native Americans continue to protest in North Dakota despite a court halting work on a pipeline through their land. Well, that's because the ruling only temporarily halts construction on the $3.8 billion project that threatens drinking water supplies. Andre-Pierre du Plessis reports now.
Thousands of Native Americans from more than 100 tribes have been camping out on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation. They came to protest against plans for a new oil pipeline they say would contaminate the sacred area's water. When a bulldozer cut through burial grounds, the standoff turned violent. And on Tuesday, a federal judge stepped in to temporarily halt work on the project.
We provided evidence on Friday of sacred sites that were directly in the pipeline's route. By Saturday morning, those sites had been destroyed. And we saw things happening out at Standing Rock, dogs being put on protesters that haven't been seen in America in 40, 50 years.
Thanks to the discovery of oil in this part of North Dakota, the U.S. has become less dependent on importing energy from the Middle East. But moving crude oil across the U.S. has proved dangerous, as it's most often done via rail. That's why an underground pipeline is being constructed that would cut through the Dakotas, Iowa, and Illinois. But the project's developer, Dakota Access, is accused of not properly consulting the owners of culturally significant sites.
We're trying to protect this resource for America, not for just ourselves.
Originally, the pipeline was supposed to cross the Missouri River near North Dakota's capital, Bismarck. But authorities worried that an oil spill would have polluted the state capital's drinking water. So they moved the crossing to just a kilometer from Native American land taken from the tribe in 1958 without its consent.
This is all we have left are these reservations. And for them to come in into our lands, put the pipeline in with the oil, something might happen. And there goes our land next. We don't have nothing. So we're doing our best to stop it here, now.
Since the temporary construction halt is expected to end on Friday, protesters are digging in for a long fight. Andre-Pierre du Plessis, TRT World.
Well, for more on this story, I'm joined by Sarah Manning, a columnist at the Indian Country Today media network. She joins me from Sisterton in South Dakota. Sarah Manning, thank you very much for joining us on Money Talks. Just very briefly, can you give us an idea of the legal position now? Have the tribes been successful?
Thus far, I mean, the tribe has tried a couple of different legal attempts to stop construction. They filed an injunction and sued the Army Corps of Engineers, and they're awaiting a ruling, which is to take place on September 9th. But recently, a couple of days ago, they filed for a temporary restraining order to stop construction after the sacred sites were identified and destroyed. However, the restraining order was unsuccessful. While part of the construction did stop, the area where sacred sites were identified, construction continues.
Yes, we heard in that report that the legal team identified the sites on Friday, and by Saturday they were being destroyed. Now, Dakota Access, the pipeline company, says it did not damage any historical sites. What do you make of that claim?
Well, what we know is that Dakota Access did hire their own archaeological team to survey the area to identify areas of significant cultural value. However, those archaeologists are not of Native American descent. They are not of Lakota descent to even be able to determine the presence of these rock formations that Native American professionals and the Tribal Historic Preservation Office has been able to identify. And so they're viewing the land and surveying the land from a very ignorant lens. And so that they ruled out the presence with their own hired archaeologists is very questionable.
What do you make of seeing dogs being used on protesters by private security firms?
Yeah, it was absolutely unnecessary, and I think it really took the water protectors by surprise. They were actually on a planned walk up to the original protest site to pray and sing, and there were women and children present. So when they showed up and saw that their sacred area that was identified the day before there was construction there, it really incited a lot of emotions. And so when they walked onto the construction scene and dogs showed up, I mean, your instincts to protect yourself immediately kick in. And so the violence really started with Dakota Access desecrating those sacred sites and showing up with dogs, because immediately your instincts are going to kick in.
Okay, and just finally and briefly, do you think the tribes will be successful ultimately in stopping this pipeline?
You know, that's a really difficult question to answer. I can't say with certainty that there's a whole lot of trust in the federal government. It's really going to depend on the federal court system. But as far as you know, joining in unity and protecting resources, the tribe has been successful in so many ways already in gaining attention and getting people to reconsider our dependency on fossil fuels. And so in that regard, there's been great successes to be celebrated. As far as stopping the pipeline, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, Sarah Manning, thank you very much for your analysis there. Appreciate it.